Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Aligned Plans. As you can tell, today is a little bit of a different format, a different type of video. Today we are doing a little bit of a journaling session. I thought that I would bring you along as I'm doing a little bit of backpedaling here. And mainly I just wanted to kind of just catch up with you, put some music on, and really just kind of allow you to like sink into your own journaling practice. We haven't really done a video like this where I not only get the opportunity to kind of talk to you about what's working within journaling and what is really not working out so great, but I do find that sometimes we tend to kind of sit in this mental space where we overthink too many things and then we just kind of don't return to the actual practice of journaling or planning or updating the things that really once mattered so much to us. So I thought that we would just create some space for that today and see how far we make it, regardless of how our spread will end up looking like. So I also find that sometimes we tend to, at least I tend to kind of fall into this trap that I need to use certain supplies, certain scissors, certain pens, certain inks, you kind of name it, fill in the blank, in order for me to feel creative or in order for me to really just actually show up. As you can tell, I'm kind of putting together a little spread. Some of the supplies that you see here that are just right above my planner, all of those goodies came in a very adorable happy mail that I have received from Leanne from Eclectic Reading on Instagram. First of all, thank you for this amazing happy mail. Honestly, you have made my day. I hope that what I'm sending you will actually also enjoy. But it's so interesting when we are like swapping supplies and things like that, because it kind of you really truly get like an insight into someone else's style, and it's how it differs or how it's really similar to your own. So I highly encourage all of you to kind of connect within the planning, within the journaling community with others, because you definitely learn quite a bit in the process. My plans for today includes really just doing a little bit of back planning and memory keeping in my Hobonichi cousin, as well as doing a couple of spreads in my traveler's notebook, where we can not only kind of write about some travel plans, but also where we're kind of drawn and why. In other news, if you are wondering what's happening with the bleed through, I personally actually don't mind. I did a little bit of swatching the page before that, as you can tell. Sometimes it's fine. It's fine. It doesn't, in my opinion, actually, it adds kind of a little bit of character. Sometimes you need to have those bleed throughs and those messed up pages so that it adds a bit of a sense of imperfection. And I think that we also, this to me essentially is the definition of imperfect spreads, where not every page looks perfect, not every page is completely cohesive. Sometimes I do mix styles, and honestly a lot of it actually kind of just depends on my mood, of how I feel, what it is that I'm kind of after. And I'm keep reminding myself, and I'm here to remind you as well, not that you need any reminding, but in case you do, here you go. It's much more important for you to make the commitment to show up regularly than it is for things to kind of match your ideal of a perfect spread or your idea of a perfect journal. And sometimes, and I've seen this multiple times from people, where they literally are willing to ditch the entire book because it doesn't match, or because a spread got messed up somewhere along the way. And to me, that's such a detriment, because now you're not actually giving that thing that you invested in, you're not really giving it life. You're not actually interacting with it the way that you actually could. Anyway, that's enough for both rambling and personal development. Now let's kind of come back to the spread. I'm literally just kind of writing about all the things that have taken place today, on this day, on Wednesday. The red ink, which kind of looks red, is actually the tangerine color that I just recently bought from the Guitar fountain pen ink. It looks really beautiful in the lamy. This lamy tip is actually, I would go with a medium personally. It just says it's a left-handed nib, but it generally writes more like a medium in my opinion. Okay, moving on to now the Traveler's Notebook spread. This is actually one of the inserts that I bought from Baumkuchen. It has like these white dots, as you can tell. So it has like a white grid in craft paper. I have a hard time sometimes finding like the right pen to write with in here, mainly because simply just the simple fact that because the paper is a little bit more rough, it's not nearly as smooth as some of the Midori paper. So I do struggle with that sometimes. But anyhow, here we are with kind of just trying to find like the right little accent colors. At this point in the game, I actually don't have... Okay, so I should just mention that at this point in the game, I don't really have a sense of direction of how I really wanted the spread to look like. But I did pick up just recently from Ammo Stationery haul. She did have a couple of these press-on stickers that has very much a travel theme to it. So I knew that that will be like one of the main ones that I wanted to use today. Now enough about the spread. Let's actually talk about where are we going to go. And honestly, while this spread is not really going to be fully dedicated to one specific place, I wanted it to be kind of dedicated as like a benchmark where I can kind of collect all the places, at least for the foreseeable future, that I would like to visit. So we're kind of looking at, I'm just gonna spoil it for you. I'm looking at currently Spain, Portugal, LA, and I added Switzerland in there, even though that wasn't really something that we were planning on doing this year, but it's definitely going to be on my bucket list. And then Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii is one of those things where we've been to Hawaii before, but you know when you've gone to Hawaii and it kind of just gives you a base outline of like what it could be like. That's kind of how I feel about Hawaii. So I definitely wanted to go back. It was one of my best vacations. I would like to kind of do it in a different way, where most of our investment actually goes towards experiences rather than to accommodations. So I do think that when it comes to traveling, it's sort of like this trial and error of figuring out how to do it in a way where you kind of get the most out of those travels. So that's sort of my hope with not only doing the spread, but also doing the research itself. With LA, I wasn't actually thinking That's definitely my husband's like a dream place to go. And even within that, there's just so much to see within LA and within California. I'm actually just highlighting Santa Monica. That's just one of the places that I looked up, and it looks beautiful. It's one of those things where I kind of have to be really conscious and really aware of where we can go without really getting lost within the large city, as well as giving them a little bit of culture. You know the drill. Whenever you're traveling with children, it's like a whole other planning session versus just, doing a weekend getaway with just you and your partner. So that's kind of how I feel about LA. I think that it would be a really beautiful place to visit, but I definitely want to make sure that we kind of have our bases covered with both culture, just some sightseeing, as well as obviously exploring the beaches and just exploring the areas. Again, Hawaii, I'm not really going to talk too much more about it. I've been to Hawaii maybe about 3 years ago, and I've been kind of dreaming about it ever since. So if you've been to Hawaii, it's kind of like when you know. I've been to the Big Island, and we kind of just traveled all around the Big Island, and I would highly recommend it. It was just one of the most breathtakingly beautiful places that you can actually visit. Spain and Portugal. Let's talk about Spain and Portugal. To me, they kind of equally hold a very special place in my heart. Going to Europe in and of itself kind of holds a very special place in my heart because I am from Europe. And it's kind of funny, if you're from Europe and you were born in Europe, then you know that traveling within Europe is not the same as when you live in Europe. Because when you live there, everything is sort of normalized and you kind of stay within your little vicinity depending on how you lived and where you lived. I lived in Hungary for about 15 years of my life, so to us, traveling outside of Hungary wasn't as nearly as accessible as it is for me to travel from Canada. So because of that, even though I am from there, I actually haven't really seen too many places. I've seen Austria and a little bit of Germany, but even then I wouldn't actually call that traveling. It was more like we're traveling through rather than sightseeing. So because of that, I've never actually seen Italy. I've never seen, Greece. I never really seen any of the places that most people kind of talk about when they actually visit Europe. So right now, I would really love to just see the coastal line of both Spain and Portugal. You'll see some of the pictures at the very end. I did print out a couple of images. I mean, all you have to do is really just Google Spain or Google Portugal, and you will see the ocean, you will see the waves, you will see so many beautiful areas, as well as just a wealth of culture and just things to see. So here's your question of the day. Before I ramble on any further, I would love to know if you've been to Europe and where have you visited, and what is like the number one place that you would recommend. So any of those 3 questions, feel free to answer. And as we're coming to a close of this spread, first of all, I wanted to thank you guys for hanging out with me, obviously, but I would also love to know what your travel plans look like for this summer, and if you do nearly as much research as I'm doing right now or more. So give me all of your travel tips. I would love to know. And we're just adding a few little accenting pieces as we're coming to a close. And here is a close-up coming right up. And here is now a close-up of the actual finished spread. Here's all of the beautiful images that I told you about. So I'm trying to do a little bit of a slow-mo here so you can take a look. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. And if you did, you know what to do. And I cannot wait to see all of you in my next one. Bye!